Hello friends and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be discussing House of Leaves by Danielewski. This is a book I have wanted to discuss since I read it a little over a year ago now. I think I read it in the spring of 2024. And when I read this book, it quickly became one of my favorite books of all time. I truly have never read anything quite like it before. And I don't think I ever will, truthfully. I think that this book is one of a kind. And you'll either love it or hate it. But, you know, I can usually get through a book in like 2-3 days, but this book took me like a solid month and a half, almost 2 months, to get through, for reasons which I will explain as we get into it. You know, I plan on rereading it, but I just haven't had the bandwidth to, because it is very dense, and there's just a lot more going on in this book than you would initially think. So pardon my my bookmarks and annotations. Yeah, I want to keep them in the book so that when I reread it, I'll be able to kind of pick up where I left off. Hopefully. Probably we'll just have a completely different opinion, but yeah, The House of Leaves. Where do I even begin? This was, I think it was published in like 2000, like 2001. I'm not entirely sure of the date. But this is one of those rare books that feels less like a novel and more like an experience. You know, you kind of walk away from it a little changed, a little rattled maybe, and very aware that not everything you experience can be neatly explained. It's postmodern, it's labyrinthian, it's a typographical fever dream. It really is, and it's not for you. It literally says that before we get into the introduction. This is not for you. And it probably isn't. I mean, you'll either love or hate this book. And even if you love it, you'll hate it. But it at the heart, the story follows this family called the Navidson family. And they move into this, you know, what seems to be this perfectly normal home, until they realize that the house is bigger inside than it is on the outside. And that alone is uncanny. But then this hallway appears, where no hallway should exist. It's impossible for this hallway to exist, and yet it does. And then that hallway becomes a corridor, and then it becomes a cavern, and then this impossible, huge, shifting labyrinth. And Will Navidson, he's this Pulitzer-winning photojournalist. He becomes absolutely obsessed with documenting the spatial nightmare his home has turned into, naturally. And this hyperfixation puts immense strain on his family, his, you know, personal relationships, and it eventually it threatens to consume him whole. But that's just one narrative, you know. The documentary of the Navidson record is compiled by this man, this old blind man named Zampanò, who writes this manuscript of the Navidson record. And this manuscript is discovered after his death by this guy named Johnny Truant. And Johnny Truant is this, he's this drifting tattoo shop apprentice who decides that he's going to edit and annotate this manuscript. And as Johnny's footnotes grow longer, the story goes on. His footnotes grow longer, stranger. They become more confessional. He's clearly losing his grip on reality. And in the same way that the house unravels Will Navidson, the manuscript unravels Johnny. And then you here are the reader, kind of forced to navigate both of these unravelings at once. And you're also kind of unraveling yourself. You're like, it's crazy. But there's lots of influences in this book. Vladimir Nabokov, Poe, Shirley Jackson, Stephen King, Jorge Luis Borges. It's just then there's film theory and documentary culture, and concrete poetry with experimental typography. This book feels like someone threw the entire Western canon into a blender and then added like a dash of academic satire and then just hit puree, and then typeset the results, with the express intention of giving the reader heart palpitations, because that's what happened to me. But and here's the thing: everybody reads this book differently. The experience, it feels unique to you. Like I could reread this tomorrow and feel like I've never encountered it before. There's just so much in these pages. There's hidden codes and symbols and erratic typography and fake citations mixed in with real citations and philosophical footnotes that just spiral into madness. At one point I actually found some Morse code hidden in the text, and of course I had to go decode it. Found myself lost deep in a rabbit hole, and then you come out of that one, and then elsewhere I noticed there were these like alchemical symbols that would crop up in the footnotes. And here's an example. Here. Sorry, I don't know if you can see this or not. Where is it? There. So see how here there's like this kind of like this like star explosion with like 5.5 in there. I just thought, initially it's just a way to a creative choice to mark a footnote, but then I noticed it again later on in the text with like a different number but the same symbol, and seemingly not really related to one another, but maybe they were. Maybe they are connected. Is it a coincidence? Is it deliberate? Why would the author go to all of the trouble of putting all this crap, it's not crap, but putting all of this stuff into the text if it meant nothing? But what if they're there to lure you down the same rabbit holes that the characters fall into? Which honestly, that mirrors the same, it mirrors the central mystery of the Navidson house, the conviction that there must be meaning. A maze leads somewhere, right? A mystery has an answer. And if the text has footnotes that are literally pages long with citations and references and innuendos, surely it's saying something, right? Except half of those citations are fake. There were so many instances where I would fall down a rabbit hole, and I would try to I would see the source, the reference, and I would try to find the source material to see if I could find meaning in something, and I go to look up the source material and it's fake, it's just bullshit. So this book nearly drove me insane. You're searching for meaning and you're just chasing ghosts, and maybe that's the point. Not that you're supposed to go crazy, but that You know, Danielewski, he wants you to confront the limits of understanding. He wants you to stare into the abyss and ask why you're staring at all. And for me, the house became a metaphor for the abyss, the void, the black hole at the center of being. You know, Nietzsche famously said, when you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. And House of Leaves takes that quite literally. How you respond to the abyss, to the book, curiosity, terror, denial, obsession, reveals who you are. And the book itself mirrors the house. You know, the cover, look, the cover is smaller than the book block, physically making it bigger on the inside, just like the house. And then the formatting, the formatting turns reading into a physical act. Like, look, you know, you're climbing staircases of text, falling down these typographical chasms. You know, you're tilting the book, having to read it. This column is upside down. This column's upside down. This is on its side. This text in this blue circle here is backwards, so you actually have to go grab a mirror to read it. And then the footnotes will take you to the back of the book, into the appendices, and then you're reading like huge sections of the appendix, and then you're going back to where you belong, like where you left off, and then, you know, another footnote will take you back to the beginning of the book, and then you're rereading this with a different lens, and then it's just, you are physically, you are in a maze, just like the characters. And even the title is clever, you know, House of Leaves. In bookbinding, a leaf is a single sheet of paper, front and back. And a book is literally just a house of leaves. And then, you know, the reader, as you're reading this, you become a fifth narrator, you know, but your interpretation shapes the labyrinth, just as the labyrinth shapes whoever enters it. Like, oh, I don't know. My goodness, this book is just, wow. You know, I probably should have made some notes. I'm sorry. This is probably just like a bunch of nonsensical rambling, but it's just, this book is just so crazy. And how you read it, how you interpret it is just, it can vary so much. You know, I kind of think that, you know, you fall into four camps. There's Karen's camp. That's Navy's wife, Karen Navidson, Green. You know, they take one look into the abyss and say, you know, absolutely not. I'm checking out. You know, they think that this book is just pretentious nonsense, and they avoid it entirely. And then there's Navy's camp, you know, those who like to dive deep and almost get swallowed, but, you know, they manage to resurface with a new understanding, maybe a little bit shaken, but intact. And then there's Zampanò's camp, you know, those who will read it at face value. You know, they trust the narrative. They don't check the sources. They never question the reliability of the narrator. It's the blind leading the blind. And then there's Johnny's camp. You know, those who stare a little too long. They go a little too deep, and they come out the other side changed. They become the monster. The Minotaur in the maze. Oh, the Minotaur. Oh my gosh. The Minotaur. That in itself could be an entirely different video, but just to put it simply, it's if the labyrinth is the void, then the Minotaur is the monster within us. You know, it's the Jungian shadow, the part that we keep locked away, the part that we fear might one day escape. This book is just It is a literary inception. You know, it's a fake story inside a fake documentary, inside of another fake documentary, inside of a dead man's manuscript, inside Johnny's deteriorating mind, all framed with the narrative of the editors who supposedly published the book, this physical book that you're holding. It's in the most affectionate way possible. It's a complete mindfuck. It truly is. But you know what? That's why it works. You know, it is art imitating life. Either everything has meaning or nothing does. And both those possibilities are equally terrifying. You know, this book lingers because it refuses to resolve itself. It haunts the reader because it acknowledges a truth that we don't like to admit. You know, some mysteries will remain mysteries. Some labyrinths have no center. Some questions just don't have answers. And you know, maybe that's why. I think that's why House of Leaves has earned the cult status it holds, because, you know, everybody wants to solve it. You know, personally, I'm convinced we never will, nor are we meant to. You know, only Danielewski knows the truth, and the rest of us are just wandering in his maze with a candle and a growing sense of unease. And honestly, that's exactly what makes it brilliant. Truly does. But funny enough, I have this key bookmark that I like to. It's so fitting for this book. I have to symbolically kind of keep it tucked away in this book. I don't think I'll ever unlock this house. I really don't. I think it's just, it is what it is. But I love this book. I love this book. I hated it at times, but I love it. I'm sad I will never get to read it again for the first time, but I am looking forward to rereading it. And I think, you know, I would recommend this book purely because I enjoyed it so much. I realize that it's not for everybody. But if you are interested in ergodic text, ergodic literature, you want a challenge, you want to read something that is completely different from anything that you've ever read, and you have the time to actually like keep an open mind and actually go through the book and read it and kind of immerse yourself in the narratives, then I think you should just go for it. You know, it's the winter time now. Everybody's kind of hunkering down. It's the perfect time to kind of lose yourself in this book and have fun with it, you know. It's a lot of fun to read. It really, really is. If you like puzzles, mysteries, literature, like this book has everything. It really does. I freaking love this book. I cannot emphasize it enough. I do think everybody should try to read it, and see what you come up with. You know, I could this review discussion, whatever this will be, I should have made some more notes on it. I feel like it would have been more cohesive, but at the same time, like, I don't even know where to begin. I have so many theories, and maybe, you know, if you guys are interested, if you've read it and you're interested to hear, maybe I'll go in depth. Maybe I'll make a video that kind of dives a little deeper, kind of share my theories with you all, and what I've found and connections I've made, or you know, maybe I'll do a video on that if there's a need for it. I'm sure this book's been beat to death online, but you know, if you guys want, I will do that. So just let me know in the comments, and yeah, it's something I can do. Yeah, I love this book. I really do. And I hope that, I hope you guys, if you haven't read it, give it a chance. Just give it a chance. I get get this one, the remastered full color edition, and because there's, hang on a second here, I'll show you. This one, there's 3 different, here. So there's 3 different colors. Here's another layer to the mystery. Every time house, like the word house, is mentioned in English or any other language for that matter, it's in blue. It's always in blue. I don't know why. I mean, of course I have theories, but I don't know. But like, I mean, it even in the freaking appendix, house is blue, and then also house black DNE does not exist because it doesn't. Like every time, even like I was reading La Maison, blue. And then everything that is references the Minotaur. Like every time Minotaur is mentioned, like the word Minotaur, it's red. Or anything that has to do with the Minotaur is red. And sometimes it's crossed out. Like here's another example. Picture that in your dreams. Like, what is the meaning of it? What is the purpose? I don't know. Very relevant 2024. Oh, this is actually even more relevant in 2025. Here, I'm just going to quickly read this for you. Keep in mind, this book was written in the 90s and published in like 2000, 2001, right? In the future, readers of newspapers and magazines will probably view news pictures more as illustrations than as reportage, since they will be well aware that they can no longer distinguish between a genuine image and one that has been manipulated. Even if the news photographers and editors resist the temptations of electronic manipulation, as they are likely to do, the credibility of all reproduced images will be diminished by a climate of reduced expectations. In short, photographs will not seem as real as they once did. And then it goes on to list this source, which I don't know if this one is real or not. Can't confirm. But yeah, how relevant is that now? You know, they're talking about photo manipulation. AI is taking over, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But, you know, that's a discussion for another day. There's so many freaking amazing quotes. There's this chapter, I think it was chapter 3 or chapter 5. There was a chapter on echoes. I loved it. It was probably my favorite chapter in the book. And then there was another one. There was another quote. Where was it? Yeah, like here, like real. Here's another example. These are real people, you know. Stanley Kubrick, Hunter S. Thompson, Stephen King, Steve Wozniak, Anne Rice. All real people, like their interviews. These are like with some context. These are interviews with like real settings, real people, real people mentioned in said interview and quote. It's the quote's fake. It's bullshit. There's so many. Like here's another example. Like La Maison in blue. C'est la maison de famille. Where was it? I'm not gonna be able to find it. Yeah, here it is. this reference from a quote. What did God really know about brothers, or for that matter, sisters? He was, after all, an only child, and before it all, an equally lonely father. Like, so I looked this up because it's this source is from a man by the name of Robert Hurt, asked in an article titled Esau and Jacob, published by this publication in 1969. Went to look up trying to find the source material. Oh, it's fake. It's fake. It's bullshit. So this book does things to you. I love it. I really do. But where was I going with this? Yeah, get the remastered full color edition. There's and get the don't get the hardcover. I think you'd be better served with the soft cover edition. But the full color edition, you get the different text colors. So if you are going to read it, that's my recommendation. But you're an adult, you can do what you wish. So yeah, I'm going to end it here now before I get lost in another ramble. So thank you so much for sticking through to the end here. Sorry for the nonsensical musings. But yeah, House of Leaves, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.